Yes, so apparently they reconstructed the voice of a medieval king. To be specific, I think it's Richard III. So it is a monster of a video, and I don't react to 1 hour. It's insane. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna watch a little bit, and then I'm gonna skip around, okay? I'm gonna skip around. If you're like, but Metatron, I want to watch the whole thing. Yeah, I'll put a link in the description so you can watch the entire video. But I do want to see, I want to hear it. I want to hear what King Richard III sounded like. So, let's go. King. That's his skull.
The clarity and charity of the sun's lift is so great that when it is poured on the other heavenly bodies, the sun shines with no less lift and splendour.
Okay, I wish the music was lower. I imagine they will show us again later, hopefully without the music. I noticed one thing. Instead of light, he said Licht. Did he? Let me hear it again.
The sun shines with no less lift and splendour.
Shines, Licht, so shines light. Yeah, that's it. Oh, this is gonna be good.
I'm investigating how an incredible initiative is going to help us get closer to history than ever before.
I can't wait to do it. This is a project that brings together history with technology, art, science, language, and one of my favourite historical personalities, King Richard III.
Yeah, he is King Richard III.
I've had special access to some of the key stages throughout this fascinating process for History Hit.
His voice is a tool. It's how he would want to project himself.
The Voice for Richard project has set out to give Richard back his own voice.
The skull.
Wow, so they are analyzing the skull to reproduce, I guess, the pitch. Because, of course, all of this is reconstructed linguistics. They're trying to recreate the vowel system before GVS, or the Great Vowel Shift that occurred. But then again...
Skull is the perfect indicator.
I didn't know you could predict the potential pitch range of a voice from
That's what I thought, so yeah, pitch range.
skeleton.
When you add all these sounds together, you get a very distinctive pronunciation.
Oh, he's the linguist. The guy with the beard is the one who's training him for the linguistic. Fascinating project. I want to give him that.
We're going to hear him speak again, just as he did nearly 5.5 centuries ago.
Wow.
The result is about to be revealed for the very first time at a special event at York's Theatre Royal.
Bro, I hate the epic music that they put in these. I just hate it, but it's just me. I don't know what to tell you. I do like the fact that they chose this one also because of the relevance with Shakespeare. You know, the Shakespearean villain. It's going to be good.
I'm just beside myself. It's hard to believe that, they've managed to do this.
I'm so excited. It's not just a story anymore, it's bringing it all to life.
Is he a good man or a murderous psychopath? Richard III will speak for himself now.
Let's go. Pretty good. The music increased instead of going lower.
This is the story of a voice.
Okay.
The voice of one of the most debated kings in history, Richard III, the last Plantagenet. Immortalised on stage and screen as Shakespeare's notorious anti-hero, with well-known lines put into his villainous.
Man, look at the face. What actors? Theater actors are not built the same. This is phenomenal. They're not built the same as regular actors. It's a different art form.
Mouth.
Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York.
To be performed.
Wow, man, it gives me the chills. Of course, he wouldn't have had that accent. I think this is what this is all about, apart from the reconstruction of because he just spoke with modern English accent after GVS, but still.
With evil gusto by great actors.
I can smile and murder whilst I smile.
In 2012, the study of Richard's life and death was blown wide apart
because they found the skeleton.
His well-preserved skeleton was rediscovered, buried in a car park in Leicester.
Buried in a car park in Leicester? Come on now. We're talking about the king, you're burying him in a car park?
On a site that was once Greyfriars Church. Suddenly, it was possible to explore Richard in new ways, as a real person, and attempt to separate the man
I love it.
from the myth.
Yeah. Myth is pretty good though.
So, okay, we're going to just start making sure.
All right, so you were saying GVS. It's the great vowel shift. It's the reason why in English you say time instead of tim, for instance. Why you have the I, why you have the A instead of A, like the way you pronounce game. That whole happened over about 300 years. And in fact, in the early medieval period, a word like night would have been pronounced knicht. So the K was still pronounced, which is why you still spell it with a K. And then the I was not an I. There was the strongest, it was a lot more Germanic when you talk about like even Anglo-Saxon and all that. And then the vowel shift, particularly with the I. I have an entirely dedicated video, by the way, on my second channel, Metatron's Academy. But just to say, the way it changed is that it went from E, so like time, initially started as team. Then it went to tame, and then it went to time. And then possibly in some areas, even more nasalized to time. It kind of depends, but whatever. In reality then, if you hear a Glasgow accent, a Scottish accent, when they do say tame or rate, it's not that they have a Scottish accent, it's that their accent is more conservative. Everyone spoke like that in the Middle Ages. In the High Middle Ages, they would just say tim, and that kind of sounds. And also, another thing I like, we'll see if they talk about it, but you know how there are words in English that are spelled differently but pronounced the same? For instance, meat as the verb to meet someone, and meat as in the food, like, you know, the meat of an animal. They were spelled differently because they were pronounced differently in the Middle Ages. One had an open, it was a quality of vowel difference. So one had an open and one had a closed e. So one would be pronounced meat, and one would be pronounced met. So there was a difference in vowel. This difference was lost as the GVS continued and sort of encapsulated both into the same vowel. Reconstructing medieval English is fascinating. And I myself have done a reconstruction of the Our Lord's Prayer in medieval English of the 14th century, again on the channel Metatron's Academy. We could check it out. It's a short 2-minute clip, so we can check it out as we let's keep watching a little bit, and then I'll show it on stream so we can see it.
Your bodies feel warm, and I'm just going to ask you to rub and pat your arms and legs.
I don't know
For
what
one person, that discovery of Richard's remains would develop into a 10-year journey to find and recreate Richard's voice.
So when we breathe in and down, we want to think of sending
speech.
the air down, and we need more space.
Training.
My first stop on my journey to follow this fascinating story is to talk to the project's founder and lead.
Okay.
Yvonne Morley-Chisholm is a voice coach. She works with actors to help them use their voices to create characters.
And so why Richard III is the focus of the project? Why not somebody else from history?
So I went along to a talk and presented his face, his recreated face. The computer could move in a fairly comprehensive manner the face. I thought, we know the muscular fitness, the size of the muscles on the day that he died, and I had been working anyway to explore the way the muscles are, the way the vocal tract is, to work with performers and actors in how to manipulate their voices for characterization and or accurate imitation. And I thought, normally I'm working with a recording. We can analyze that voice and then they can replicate it. And I thought, we don't have a recording of Richard.
Of course.
But I just wonder, something in me just thought, I don't know if anybody's ever done this. I'm just curious to know, how far can we push this? What else could we find out? And then that triggered in me, okay, we're going to need to know the original pronunciation. I know who to go to for that. We're going to need to know about his personality. And I discovered that there had been 2 forensic psychologists to look at that. So I'm thinking speech and language therapy, ear, nose, throat consultancy, dentistry, and just more and more and more to try.
So basically it's interdisciplinary. I love it. This is really interesting. Let's see.
Richard's voice began with his face. Until 2012, the only real idea we had of Richard's face came from portraits.
Yeah.
There's no surviving portrait of Richard from his lifetime. The earliest, held by the Society of Antiquaries, dates to the beginning of the 16th century, but may have been copied from an older painting done whilst Richard was alive.
Yeah. that we don't have anymore.
Over the decades that followed, other paintings were created, but their distance from Richard made them increasingly unreliable. An X-ray examination shows that some were altered later to look meaner, with a thinner mouth and angrier eyes. But Richard III's skeleton was found in incredibly good condition. Despite lying in the ground since medieval times, his skull was remarkably well preserved. This meant it was possible to gather detailed information about Richard's physique and his face.
They wanted something authentic, so we can forget all of that Shakespearean a horse, my kingdom for a horse nonsense. They were looking for...
Hey, nonsense. It's Shakespeare, though. I mean, I wouldn't call it nonsense. I would just say inaccurate, but not nonsense.
Words that Richard would have actually spoken during his lifetime. Unfortunately for us, there are a precious few examples that give us access to that real voice of Richard III.
And look at those buildings.
The next stop on my investigation is Lambeth Palace Library, where I've managed to track down a very important and intimate set of words attributed to Richard.
Oh, that's good.
His personal prayer.
This is the Book of Hours that belonged to King Richard III himself. And the Book of Hours is an incredibly personal document. Oh, wow, thanks, Alison. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? It contains verses, records...
I'm surprised they're not wearing gloves as they touch that.
...of saints' days, important dates. And Richard would have spent almost every day of his adult life with this book. It would have accompanied him everywhere. In fact, it's believed it was found in his tent after the Battle of Bosworth.
Look at that.
Once he'd been killed. And as a testament to the value of documents like this, it passed into the hands of Lady Margaret Beaufort, the mother of the new King Henry VII. She was willing to take this book from a vanquished enemy because it was so precious and so valuable. And the reason the Voice for Richard project were particularly interested in this document is because it contains a personal prayer that was written for Richard, something that he probably recited every day.
That's insane. What a choice now when I hear it. When you look at this book and you think that that thing has been existing since the Middle Ages, it's mind-blowing. I feel like the 80s are centuries ago almost. Imagine that freaking book. That's insane. Give me the linguist.
A little bit of what we might call the common touch.
One question I want to get to the bottom of is what the English that Richard was speaking sounded like in the late 15th century.
Yes.
And notice what you did there, quite rightly. You dropped the H on heavenly.
Heavenly, yes.
Heavenly.
Yvonne has enlisted...
Drop the H's like the Cockneys, guys, and then you'll sound medieval.
...linguist and specialist in original pronunciation, Professor David Crystal, to help our actor Thomas Dennis recreate Richard's voice as it would have been 5 centuries ago.
So where are we linguistically?
So he's right in the middle of this period that begins in Middle English and ends in what we call early modern English.
Yeah.
So any accent from the late 15th century would have some features still of the older accent of medieval times, and yet repeatedly you'll hear hints of the modern accent that we recognize today.
David is a specialist in OP, original pronunciation, which helps to bring us as close as we can possibly get to how the people of the past would have spoken, such as Shakespeare, or now, Richard III.
OP accents, they're not the same. What do we mean by OP?
Original pronunciation. It's the sound system that would have been used at any period in the past. Let's take a modern example. There's 3 of us here now speaking modern English, the modern English sound system. But we've got 3 different accents, and yet we all understand each other. Why? Because the basic system...
Well, personally, him and her both sound kind of southern upper class. So they sound quite RP, honestly. But yes, they could have put a Mancunian, a Scouser, and a Scotsman, and him, and then it would have been all modern, but all different. I think that's the idea.
Is the same. It underlies our 3 accents. Now, it was the same at any period in the past. It was the same in Richard's time.
How do we know? How do you work out OP?
The first thing you do is you look at all the rhymes that people made in poetry at the time. Now, Richard himself, I don't think, did any poems which rhymed, but Chaucer did, of course, and Shakespeare did, and lots of other people in the period. And you find that lots of words that don't rhyme today must have rhymed then.
Yeah, they're supposed to rhyme. One that comes to mind was moon and blood, because most likely when you have two O's in kind of this period of time, it's pronounced as a long O. A bit like when the way you pronounce two O's in door and floor, right? So it probably would have been morn and blood. And in fact, there are some accents in the north of England where they do pronounce blood. I don't, I say blood, and I think that he would too. It's a region variety, but definitely they would have rhymed in period.
I mean, a good example is Puck in Midsummer Night's Dream, who rhymes the words stars and wars.
There you go.
What?
Right.
No, stars and wars.
Did you notice that it's stars and wars? Did you notice that he's pronouncing the R because he was rhotic? The dropping of the R in between vowels wasn't a thing in the Middle Ages. So when we watch like a movie and we see, I don't know, the English king giving the command, and then you see the officers in the medieval army and they go, archers, and they're dropping the R, it makes them sound English, but in fact inaccurate. They would have said archers. They would have pronounced the R. Isn't that fascinating? I love it.
And so you get lots of examples like that.
Can you give us some examples of some of the key sounds in Richard's OP? Yeah. And Thomas, have a go.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one of the most important things is to make sure that every time there's an R coming out after a vowel, it's pronounced. Yeah. This is not something that we would find today. People would say heart and cart and so on, and car. Whereas in those days, it would have been heart and car. Or maybe...
Well, in those days, they wouldn't say car, Professor. I mean, I would say, but then again, a cart, sure.
Maybe even a trill, heart and car.
With the trill is my favorite. Trill it. Roll the R. Let's go. Car. Heart.
You know, all sorts of variations were around, but some sort of R has got to be pronounced. So, Thomas, what's the most comfortable sort of R you'd like to do?
I'm not sure Richard would say car, would he?
Let's go. It's my man. Exactly. Put the professor in his place.
Was that a word around at the time?
Says heart.
Heart. All right. So
and of course, with the vowel e in it, so heart. Heart.
Oh.
Heart.
With a negative Heart.
Heart.
Heart. Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Hurt.
Sweet Lord.
Sweet Lord.
Sweat. You see, it's sweat because there is two e. It makes so much more logical sense. Sweet Lord.
That's it, yeah. Sweet Lord, not sweet Lord, you see.
Yes.
That's the big difference. Yeah. So when you add all these sounds together, you get a very distinctively different kind of pronunciation.
So we know the people that raised him, that influenced him, that befriended him. It all seems to be pointing to the north and Yorkshire. So that would be how we'd colour the OP.
Yeah, well, this is for the biographers and others to decide. But having made that decision, then how do we do Yorkshire? Thinking that it wouldn't have changed that much in 500 years, but with certain...
It's interesting because people in that area, the Geordies, Yorkshire, one thing I noticed is that, for instance, they do maintain some older pronunciation features. I don't know if they were as old as the Middle Ages, but for instance, when you say face, like in Facebook, like there's an A, I've heard people in that area of England pronounce it like a long air. So fairs, Facebook, for instance. And I think that that's probably closer. Although then again, the further down you go in the Middle Ages, the further away you go in the Middle Ages, the more an A is an A. It really just becomes an A, believe it or not.
Features that, of course, has
All right, I want to hear it now.
The clarity and charity of the sun's light is so great that when it is poured on the other heavenly bodies, the sun sheens with no less light and splendour, nor does it suffer any diminution of its strength. Rather, it is pleased to be seen, to sheen as a king in the midst of his nobles, and to adorn the greater and lesser stars of the all court of heaven with his outstanding licht.
His accent was totally not what I was expecting at all. Slightly creepy for how amazing it was because it was so well done. I heard a mixture of Yorkshire accent and almost Somerset accent.
We waited so long for this. It was amazing.
Wow, that was great. But I mean, it was a little short, but that was great. That was great. I loved it. Love to see it.
Which without doubt we should take as an example, seeing the vocation to which we're called, that is, by the favour of the Almighty, to govern and be set at the head of all the mortals of this realm. We have turned the gaze of our inward eye to the greatness of this noble state and of its members, having great care that in the great anxieties which press upon us, those who are necessary to support us should not now seem to be lacking. And since among the provinces subject to us, none requires separate and immediate rule under us as much as the Principality of Wales, because of the remote position and because of the language and customs of the people, remote from those of other areas, and the county of Chester, which almost adjoins and borders it. We therefore, following in the footsteps of our ancestors, and with the assent and advice of the side prelates, dukes and barons of our realm of England, have determined to honour our dearest first-born son, Edward, whose outstanding qualities with which he is singularly endued for his age, give great, and by the favour of God, undoubted up of future uprightness as prince and earl, with grants, prerogatives and insignia, and we do make and create him prince.
Wow, that was amazing stuff, but this is amazing. One thing I'm noticing is a 15th century medieval man, we can kind of understand him. It takes some effort, and sometimes there are some words that are missing, but at the end of the day, it's understandable. So if we were placed in England in the 15th century, I think we could communicate. You would probably need to learn a few things, like again, when he says Licht instead of light, it might take a little getting used to it, but it's systematic. So it means that every time you have an I sound, it's just an E, and then oftentimes there is this added, or like seen becomes sen. But then again, from the context, it's understandable. But the thing is, this is it's interesting because I feel like we could speak to them. Now, of course, the further back you go, the hardest is going to be to understand. And then you will need training, or maybe just to spend some time there. If you get like into a time machine, I think once you spend some time, it's still the ancestor of the language we are speaking. So I think with time, a few months, having conversations, seeing them grabbing something and telling you what it's called and hearing the pronunciation, you will get it. And you would become fluent in the medieval variety of English, whether it be Middle English, whether it be Anglo-Saxon. And then again, the further down you go, because this being 15th century means it's already gone through the influence of Norman French because of what happened in 1066 in the Battle of Hastings. And so French has already had a strong impact into this, which kind of makes it easier for the likes of me or any modern English speaker. But then if we go back to before the Battle of Hastings, so when it was purely Anglo-Saxon and more Germanic, then you would still find plenty of words that you can recognize through English, but then every other word that is instead linked to French wouldn't exist. And so we would have to get used to it. If you're German, I guess it would be a little easier for you to understand Anglo-Saxon before the French introduction. But then again, some Latin, because remember that the royalty read Latin. They read the words of the ancients. And then the Romans did have a province in there, in Britannia for a while. So a little bit of Latin would be there, but it would be small in percentage and not comparable to the current, I believe, 40% of English vocabulary is Latin-based. That's a lot. It's almost half the language. And sometimes you can see that because you have both. Like you have both in situations where you can say the same thing but in either the Germanic root or in the Latin root, you have words like room versus chamber. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's just the chamber is clearly linked to chambre. And then I don't know what the etymology of room is. I assume it to be Germanic. Maybe don't quote me on that. You might need to double check it. But that's what I mean. There's a lot of words like that. Fascinating. I really liked it. Good video. Good video. Let's give him a like. This must have taken forever to put together. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.